Good morning. The first item of business is general questions. The shortest question session we have in the week, and concise questions and responses would be appreciated. And at question number 1, I call Richard Leonard.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I hope you weren't getting at me. To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on the modernisation of the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service.
Minister Siobhan Brown.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Fire Rescue Service has conducted a public consultation on its service delivery review to consider how its services should be best configured to ensure that firefighters are in the right place at the right time. The responses are being independently analysed and will inform final decisions by the Scottish Fire Rescue Board. The SFRS plans to redeploy resources freed up by any changes that they make to provide a greater resource to its prevention and protection function and to boost training provision to ensure firefighters can keep all our communities safe from the challenging risks that they need to respond to, and also to invest in fire station facilities.
Richard Leonard.
Can I thank the Minister for that reply? 2 years ago, the Minister admitted to me that the Scottish Government had handed over £1.7 million of public money to the French company Sistel to set up a single command and control system. But it was botched. And now Motorola, which was given the contract 12 months ago, is already running behind. And within 6 months was already £10 million over budget. When will the Minister get a grip of this latest IT disaster at the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, instead of threatening to cut the number of fire appliances, cut the number of frontline firefighters, and instead of threatening to cut fire and safety emergency cover at fire stations and in communities across Scotland?
Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Firstly, I have to be clear. The primary driver for the Scottish Fire Rescue Service proposed changes are not financial. The Chief Fire Officer has said this publicly. If he had all the resources that he needed, he would still be considering these changes. I did meet with Mr Leonard back in 2023, and I will ask for an update on the situation, and I'm happy to meet the member about the IT situation.
Brief supplementary, Alistair Allen.
Whilst it's very welcome that house fires have decreased by 20% over the last 10 years, we've witnessed an emergence of new threats, such as the rise in wildfires. So can the Minister say something about the importance of the fire service's ability to adapt to these new risks?
Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It is welcome that dwelling fires have reduced, as have non-fatal fire casualties, by 33%, and fatal fire casualties by 32% reduction between 2009 and 2010 to 23 and 24. And that shows the value of Scottish Fire Rescue's prevention activity over the years. The rationale behind the Service Delivery Review is so that SFRS can better focus its resources where they are needed most. For example, on training and prevention, so that our firefighters are better located and prepared to deal with current and future risks, such as the record number of wildfire warnings periods that we have seen this year. Now, I appreciate that service changes will always be a matter of concern for people in the immediate vicinity of the impacted fire station, but it is for the SFRS, as the experts in their field, to decide the best changes to be made over time to ensure that firefighters are in the right place at the right time to deal with incidents when they occur.
Thank you. Question number 2, Alexander Burnett.
To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it has had with NHS boards regarding their winter resilience plans.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government continues to engage with NHS boards regarding winter resilience planning. Boards have been asked to provide assurance that robust plans are in place to manage system pressures. These discussions focus on ensuring safe, effective services and maintaining system resilience during periods of pressure. The forthcoming national planning priorities and principles will set out expectations and provide a consistent national approach, and boards are expected to align their local plans accordingly. This process supports coordinated planning across health and social care and ensures readiness to respond to increased demand over the winter period.
Alexander Burnett.
NHS Grampian will be nearly £50 million over budget by the end of the financial year, and the Scottish Government has said it will only be allowed to go £45 million over budget. Now, KPMG has said that increases in staffing levels do not align with the decrease in total beds, and as we head into winter, there will be increased pressures on ARI when services are already stretched. NHS Grampian still has the lowest bed base in Scotland per head of population, and ambulance stacking is a major issue. No beds and no money. Does the Cabinet Secretary have any solution for my constituents and NHS Grampian as we enter into winter?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, President Officer. I had a very productive meeting with the Chair and Chief Executive of NHS Grampian a couple of weeks ago, as well as visiting ARI, the emergency department and other parts of the hospital. I believe that they are bringing forward measures that will help to improve resilience and performance, as well as their financial picture. But I must stress that the work that has been done through the Assurance Board that has been delivered as a result of their escalation is about improving performance first and foremost, and then also about improving the financial picture. We have put more money into NHS Grampian to assist their unscheduled care pathway and their emergency pathways, and I expect that to bear fruit in the coming period.
Brief supplementary, Carol Mockin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government has tightened its NHS criteria for COVID vaccinations, which means boosters will no longer be offered to adults under 75. I understand this decision follows advice from the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. But as winter approaches, many are concerned. What reassurance can the Scottish Government offer to those no longer eligible for the COVID booster? And is it not concerned that removing the booster for under 75s may lead to an increase in COVID cases, causing pressure on services as we head into winter?
Ms Mockin. Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, President Officer. As Ms Mockin has set out, we are guided in our vaccination programmes by the advice of the independent expert Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation. Their advice, the groups that are eligible for COVID-19 vaccination this winter, not just in Scotland but elsewhere in the UK, as well as residents in care home for older adults, those aged 75 and over, those aged 6 months and over with a weakened immune system. I understand that the groups who are no longer eligible, including the 65 to 74 cohort, and those that are at wider clinical risk and frontline health workers may feel anxious. To them, I would say that the overall threat of COVID has thankfully diminished over time due to high levels of vaccine-based immunity and naturally acquired immunity from infection.
Question number 3, Annabel Ewing.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on the status of the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service's service delivery review following the public consultation, which closed on 17 September 2025.
Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Fire Rescue Service received over 3,500 responses to its review consultation and held over 40 public meetings. The review is in reaction to the changing nature of emergencies that Scottish Fire Rescue Service responds to. For example, dwelling fires, as I have already noted, have been reduced by 20% since 2013, and incidents such as flooding and wildfires have increased significantly. Therefore, it is right for Scottish Fire Rescue Service to carefully consider how to adapt to the changing risks to remain effective and efficient with firefighters in the right place and at the right time.
Annabel Ewing.
I thank the Minister for her answer. In fact, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service have refused to confirm that in the event of overwhelming support from local consultation responses for retention of 2 appliances at Lochgelly Fire Station, they will act accordingly and keep both appliances. Can the Minister therefore, for the benefit of my constituents and the Chamber, clarify what the purpose of the consultation is, as surely such equivocation risks the entire process being viewed simply as a sham?
Minister.
Thank you. As I have said before, I believe that it is for the Chief Fire Officer and his commanders across the service to make the decisions that are for the best for the service, protecting communities across the country and respond to the changing natures of risk. This is not a decision for the Scottish Government, and it is appropriate that decisions on the fire appliances are best placed in the matter for them. And as I've outlined, there is an independent analysis going on into the responses to the consultation that will inform the Scottish Fire Rescue Service's final decisions. And any changes that they introduce will be over the next 5 years. I meet frequently with Scottish Fire Rescue Service, and they have confirmed to me that no decisions have been made.
Supplementary, Sharon Dowie.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service's own consultation proposes closing 8 fire stations and changing several others from 24-hour whole-time cover to day shift only. The Minister says that will put officers at the right place at the right time. But given that the service's median emergency response time is the slowest in more than a decade, how does the Government expect these changes to improve response times or enhance public safety?
Minister.
Thank you. Just to, firstly, regarding the response time that the member brings up, Scottish Fire Rescue do continue to respond to every emergency incident with the appropriate level of resources. Now, they have a targeted approach to risk and allocation of resources overtook the focus given to the response times some years ago, and we have seen an increase in response times across the whole of the UK. Now, the safety of our firefighters is of utmost importance, and Scottish Fire Rescue Service have a strict health and safety policies in place which have evolved over the years. For example, changes to operational procedures to stop firefighters travelling under blue light conditions whilst putting on PPE equipment have added to the response times in recent years, and this is an essential change to protect firefighter safety.
Thank you. Question number 4, Alec Crowley.
Presiding Officer, to ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking to address reported rises in waiting times for social care assessments and packages in Fife.
Minister Tom Arthur.
The Scottish Government acknowledges there is a reported rise in waiting times for social care assessments. The Scottish Government has protected and prioritised additional investment into social care, despite an extremely challenging budget settlement. This includes almost £2.2 billion for social care and integration, exceeding our commitment to increase funding by almost £350 million. Under the Social Work Scotland Act 1968, local authorities and health and social care partnerships have a duty to assess the social care support needs of people, giving due consideration to those assessments to arrange suitable and timely services when required.
Alec Crowley.
Presiding Officer, in Fife there has been a steady increase in terms of assessments over the last year, a 60% increase in the numbers of people waiting. In terms of the number of people who have been assessed and then needing a care package, that has increased over the last year by 127%. Now, we talk about percentages, but these are real people. Does the Minister firstly accept that unless we tackle this, then we're not going to tackle the massive problems within our hospitals and acute care? And secondly, will the Minister agree to have a look specifically at Fife, given that these sustained increases are causing major problems for elderly and vulnerable across Fife?
Minister.
Well, look, can I thank Alex Rowley for the typically constructive spirit in which he raises the issue, and I can actually inform him I met with senior leadership at Fife Health and Social Care Partnership yesterday, and I will be following that up. And I would want to recognise some of the excellent and innovative work that is taking place in Fife. And given me assurance that the Government absolutely recognises the importance of timely assessment and delivery of social care packages, including how that relates to the wider pressures that we face across health and social care. There is a significant amount of work that has been undertaken collaboratively. That is led by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, and we continue to engage closely. I will be following up an engagement with Fife, and I'd be more than happy to keep the member informed of any developments.
Question number 5, Neil Bibby.
To ask the Scottish Government when it last met NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde and what issues were discussed.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Presiding Officer, both Ministers and Scottish Government officials regularly meet with representatives of all NHS boards, including NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, to discuss matters of importance to local people. My most recent engagement with the Chief Executive of NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde was on Tuesday at Bute House, where we discussed, amongst other things, the fact that Scotland has falling waiting times, reduced waiting lists and higher planned care activity.
Neil Bibby.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response. The Scottish Government is well aware of the concerns that Unison reps and I have about the impact of the looming closure of Ward 36 at the RAH for vulnerable older adults. With winter coming up, now is clearly not the time to be cutting beds. In fact, I am told that Scottish Government money for winter pressures has actually been used to accommodate vulnerable adults in other parts of the hospital where Ward 36 admissions are limited. This is exactly what staff at the RAH warned would happen, and it is coming to pass despite a petition with over 7,000 signatures. First, this SNP government came for the children's ward at the RAH and closed that. Are they now going to let this ward close for our older folk too and ignore the views of hard-working NHS staff and patients yet again?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I remain of the view that such changes should be carefully considered and decided locally, consistent with national policy, and whilst being meaningfully informed by the views of local stakeholders, including staff and patients. As I said when I previously met and have corresponded with Mr Bibby and Unison on this matter, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde has been clear that these changes are about providing appropriate, high-quality, safe and sustainable services for older adults in Renfrewshire. Ward 36 has for some time been used for patients awaiting home care or care home placement who are otherwise medically fit for discharge. In line with national policy on shifting the balance of care and minimising delayed discharge, the Health Board has been directing these resources to support local hospital-at-home services.
Question number 6, Michelle Thompson.
To ask the Scottish Government, in light of reported concerns raised by the Scottish Music Industry Association about delays to and sufficiency of funding awards, how it will ensure that the additional £20 million allocated to Creative Scotland for its multi-year funding programme in 25-26 effectively supports a growing number of music-specific organisations.
Cabinet Secretary Angus Robertson.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government has increased Creative Scotland's multi-year funding by £20 million this year, providing a major boost to Scotland's culture sector, and this investment provides stability for organisations to plan and to deliver high-quality programmes in theatre, in visual arts, in literature and music. 46 music organisations now receive multi-year support, which is more than double the previous number, with potentially 3 more in development for 26-27. Many multidisciplinary groups also include music, further strengthening the impact.
Michelle Thompson.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response, but I know in the recent independent review of Creative Scotland, UK Music highlighted Scotland's music sector generates over £857 million and sustains over 7,000 jobs. Yet they stress that funding volatility threatens grassroots talent, touring and economic sustainability. Now, I appreciate and understand budgetary pressures, but how will the Cabinet Secretary ensure that Creative Scotland delivers strategic, predictable and resilient investment, particularly for emerging artists, self-releasing labels and rural organisations through 25-26 and beyond?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, I think the good news for Michelle Thompson and indeed the sector is because of the introduction of multi-annual year funding, that sees an end of the volatility that many organisations previously had to put up with. No other part of the United Kingdom has multi-annual year funding in the way that this government has introduced for the Scottish culture sector, which has such an important impact in the music sector itself. If there are any specific examples that she has of funding volatility at the present time, I'd be grateful if she would let me know. The new system has been introduced so that is not the case.
Question number 7, George Adam.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government how it is supporting local cultural activities and festivals to encourage economic development and tourism.
Cabinet Secretary.
The Scottish Government is investing additional £34 million in Scotland's culture sector this year, moving us closer to the First Minister's pledge to invest at least £100 million more annually by 28-29. The uplift strengthens Creative Scotland's multi-year funding programme, supporting 251 organisations across 27 local authority areas, and expands flagship initiatives such as the Culture Collective and Creative Communities Scotland. These investments boost participation, support jobs and drive cultural and economic growth nationwide. And Visit Scotland's latest survey shows history and culture are one of the biggest attractions for visitors, helping secure Scotland's place as a world-class cultural destination.
George Adam.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his answer. The Cabinet Secretary will be aware that over the past weekend, Paisley had its annual Halloween Festival, which is the largest of its kind in Scotland, ensuring that thousands of buddies were in the Paisley Town Centre on Friday and Saturday night. During the same weekend, Paisley also received the award of Scotland's Town of the Year. Is Paisley leading the way as a perfect example of cultural investment as an important part of town centre regeneration?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, I'm very grateful for Mr Adam highlighting the range of interventions and events that are taking place in Paisley. And I think he underlines the fact that this government is committed to supporting cultural and arts events right across Scotland. Paisley is a really important part of Scotland's cultural landscape, and I'm very grateful for him highlighting the many great events that take place there.